So guys, another day, another walk in the woods. I'd like to talk to you about something that they're trying to bring in UK now, which is assisted dying, assisted suicide, whatever you want to call it, state-sponsored killing, I don't know. Now some of you know, some of you don't. I live in Switzerland, and here we have Dignitas, which is assisted suicide. Canada has it too. Now, doing a little bit of research, and I know a little bit about Dignitas here, but doing a little bit of research, last year 250 people used assisted dying in Switzerland. Now, there's a system for that that you've got to pass. You have psychiatric assessments, you have several psychiatric assessments. They don't just allow anybody to sort of top themselves, and by it being called assisted, now I'm not talking about this recent one with that pod, I don't know what we're all that about, they got arrested, but they basically wire you up, they'll put you two IVs in, or an IV into your arm, and you physically have to be able to hit a button that injects that into you and ends your life. But it's very, very, like I say, controlled. Police are involved. They make sure that it's not your relatives trying to knock you off for the house and the family gold or whatever. And again, it's controlled, and you pay for it. It's not offered by the state. It's not offered in any way to you like that. It costs about 10 or 15 grand, alright? And oddly enough, it's not really Swiss people that use it. You get a lot of people coming from other countries. I think 60% are Germans. So it's not the Swiss that are taking their own lives in this respect. And you've got to be really ill or whatever. There's all very important parameters that have to be met. Now, 2023 in Switzerland, 250 people used it. Now, population here is just it's around 9 million. Yeah? So, it's not a lot of people, and again, most of them are people who are foreigners coming from different countries to use it. Now, let's compare that with Canada. And Canada has about 40 million people, so 4 times more, just over 4 times more people. And the state is supplying, like the UK wants to do, the state is offering the service, let's call it. And again, I did a little bit of research, and last year, 2023, same as here in Switzerland, 2023, over 15,000 people used it, took their own life. In fact, it was 15,280, according to the Google, yeah? So that's 15,030 people more than what used it here, in a country that is 4 times more populated, 4 times larger if you like. That's a hell of a lot of people what they're using it. I have seen some horror stories from Canada where people are actually being encouraged to use it for whatever reasons. One guy was deaf and they offered it to him. I think it's even being offered to people who are on low income, poverty. Now there's something very, very wrong with that, isn't there? What, you've got no money? Don't worry about that. We'll just give you a shot in the arm and then you can sleep forever. I mean, we've had a lot of medically induced deaths lately, haven't we? Last few years. That's midazolam Matt and his friends. A little bit of midazolam and morphine. That'll get you on your way. But we're not allowed to talk about it that way. Or we might be a little bit now. Things are coming out. But, I mean, well, yesterday, for instance, I'm going blind again. Again. I had cataracts. I had lenses put in 2.5 years ago, and apparently now they're going again. I can't see very well. I can have them lasered. But could you imagine if I were in Canada, they might have offered me the option of death? Well, it's a bit expensive to get your cataracts done. Fortunately, everything is private, so they like to make the money. But Canada might want to save the money from cataracts and just give you a little injection to send you on your way. I say, and again, the reason I'm talking about this is the bill hasn't been passed in England, has it yet? Yet it's been advertised on the tube in London on TfL. So Sadiq Khan is advertising deaths for the population on a bill that's not passed yet. So I'm assuming it's going to pass, isn't it? I mean, that would be the idea that I've got, that they're going to actually just pass it. There must be something wrong, you know. It should be able to be sued for that, you know. And the odd thing as well about the advertising is they're not very diverse, the pictures. Whereas I think he had a white family on an advert about London, and he didn't like it because it didn't represent London. But all these people who are saying they're going to kill themselves on these 10-foot posters they've got in tube all seem to be pale-skinned chaps like me, or ladies, oddly. Mind you, at least it's work for actors, isn't it? Work for white actors. That's a thing. But yeah, so I don't know what you lot think about that, but as I said, 250 here, most of them are not Swiss. They have to pay a lot of money to do it, and actually there's a lot of parameters that have to be passed and boxes ticked, and there's a police investigation to make sure it wasn't murder, and it's so complicated compared to 15,280 in Canada, where it's encouraged and paid for by the state. Now, by we don't have adverts for it either here in Switzerland. There's no big billboards going, come to Dignitas and end your life. So the UK is doing that now, and they haven't passed the bill. It's going to be paid for by the NHS or by the taxpayer, and I think it might be just a way to save a few quid. Yeah, you're not very well. Got a bad knee replacement? No, have some of this. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a very, 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 very slippery slope what's started and how they're doing it. I know they've said everything will be done correctly, but have you seen the state of the NHS? I spent quite a lot of time dealing with hospitals a couple of years ago, right? And even since then, I've lost two other relatives. An uncle of mine was doing so well, he was going to be released the next day, but the night before the day he was supposed to be released, he died for some reason. So NHS is a shit show, unfortunately. It used to be good, but now it's not. And it's not about funding, it's about the amount of people using it, it's about the managers, how the money's spent. So if you think they could be trusted to actually do this, then you've got another thing coming.